Howard is an urban planner who came all the way from Canada to visit Plovdiv.
So the first time I went to Plovdiv was actually during, like, just before Christmas. So in the main square they actually had installed a really big Christmas tree. So this is in a space that's very near to both the ancient stadium and the old mosque. And as I was standing actually inside the stadium area where the stands were, I looked up and I could actually see in a shot you can actually get all three actually of the stadium, the Christmas tree, and the mosque, and I took a picture of that, and I was actually like completely inspired and in awe of just this one moment, because to me it represented like three different layers of Plovdiv's history all in one photograph. Christianity, Islam, and the Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire, which was around as well, and seeing all of that was just like this moment of both inspiration, but also like just being really impressed and appreciating suddenly that the deep sort of story that actually is here, like I'm actually standing here and I'm seeing all of it right now.
One thing about the city is its incredible diversity. Do you think that that's the source of the richness of Plovdiv?
Yeah, I mean, it would be ridiculous to think it isn't, in my opinion. I am pro-diversity and multiculti. Of course, that's what I saw in Berlin. But before I recognized that value, I had a difficult time actually staying positive towards something like this.
If you look at the milieu here in Plovdiv, we have a huge number of Armenians, Jews, Greeks, Turks. You see the mosque, which is beautiful and brilliant, but before the Russians came to Plovdiv, in 1878, there were 53 mosques in Plovdiv. 53 mosques. They stayed for 2 years. And after they left, only 3 were left standing. They razed everything to the ground. 50 mosques were razed to the ground. So Plovdiv was a very cosmopolitan city.
The most important thing, Plovdiv, it's not a Bulgarian city. If you are here, you feel somehow Mediterranean, then you feel a little bit Ottoman, then you feel a little bit that there is communist past. Okay, there is kind of modernization. Maybe you go to one of the hills we have in Plovdiv and you feel the nature and you feel that you are not in a big city. So just being in the center of Plovdiv, you can have very intense and in the same time relaxed feeling of the multicultural spirit.
Just in 100 meters you can see the synagogue, mosque, churches, Orthodox or Catholic, everything. And the people live here together for the centuries without any problem. That's very important for the Europe when this problem now comes in Europe. Because the people afraid each other just because they didn't know each other enough. I born in the Turkish house. My grandfather buy half house from the Turkish, and another part live the Turkish family and my family. We live together, absolutely. When I was a small kid, I speak Turkish because the neighbor speak Turkish. We naturally live together. When Muslims have Bayram, they come home with the sweets and say, we have a Bayram today, it's be healthy, be happy. And when we have a Easter, for example, I go with eggs and the neighbor Muslim, and everything is absolutely nature. We have a diversity like a basis in the city, but with Roma community we have a problem in Plovdiv. We have a real problem because the people in the Roma community live absolutely separate from us. They live in the ghetto. I'm not afraid to say ghetto because it's true.
The Roma and Sinti communities have become a complex pan-European issue involving many factors. Dealing with the cultural differences seems to be at the center of them all. Differences that have led to their exclusion, for example, from the job market, educational system, or health provision.
Step by step, I know the people inside. It's the same people like me and you, and they have one secret: education, nothing more. They have to be educated, and if the people have a knowledge, have education to work in contemporary work, to live in contemporary work, it's enough. It's everybody will find the right place.
This is the biggest gypsy ghetto in Europe. We have somewhere between 20 and 40,000 people, we don't know how many. 14, 15 years of age that has never left the ghetto, never outside of the ghetto, never been to the center of Plovdiv. And you have 85%, 90% of all Bulgarians out who don't live in the ghetto, have never entered the ghetto in their own right. So it's a world apart from our own, which is inside, it's part of our own world, but it's apart from it because it's a separate world with its own rules. And we said, what we said in this book is that we can change that with culture. We can try to pull people out of the ghetto and bring culture into the ghetto and make them part of one big whole.
One of the most fascinating characteristics of Plovdiv is its diversity. Plovdiv Together, the slogan of the European Capital of Culture 2019, actually intends to tap into this deep reservoir to create cultural capacity, social innovation, and long-term resilience. The sheer experience of everyday life in Plovdiv shows that history indeed matters.